All right, I'm finna go ahead and start. That's cool. So yeah, that's cool, King.
Yeah, let's pray for you.
All right. Oh man, mighty prayer, King. Okay, so the topic I'm gonna get into tonight, it should be a very Lord willing, be a helpful topic to brothers, and sisters, because this is a discussion that's talked about a lot, mostly in Christianity. These pastors, these Christians, the ones that's coming saying, the heathen can be saved, and they always like to pull up Paul letters, and that's mainly this mainly the topic I'm gonna go into is basically going into mostly Paul letters, because who was Paul writing to? Was Paul going against what Yahweh was doing? Was Paul sent for the other nations? Can they be saved now? Can they receive salvation now because of what Paul was saying, what he was writing to, right? What he was saying in his letters to the Romans, right? Okay, so we finna get into this thing through the Spirit, man. So Lord, when it's edifying. But before I even get in Paul letters, I want to start. I want to have a foundation, because even then the New Testament wasn't written. So what was they reading from? Like, what was they coming out of? Because the New Testament wasn't written yet, so they was coming from the New Testament. So even then we could end the whole conversation. We could just ask a Christian and be like, "Hey, show me in the New Testament where the Lord changed that." Because we know throughout the scriptures, the Old Testament, he all he talk about is Israel. He made a covenant with Israel, right? So they got to show us in the Old Testament, where it was prophesied that the heathen were going to receive salvation. And also it's very important to read. And also, the Christians, they don't really read the Old Testament. They jump straight into the New Testament. And I say this all the time, like, when you read any book, you don't just start at the end of the book. So why wouldn't it get to the Bible? You start at the end. You start at the end of the book, man. You missing all the history. You missing all the covenants. You missing everything. When you skip the Old Testament, you gotta think the Old Testament make up most of the Bible, man. You know what I'm saying? So when you skip the Old Testament, it's like you missing out. You missing out on stuff. You don't know what's going on. You don't know who them Gentiles is. You don't know because you're not reading the scriptures. You skipping straight to the New Testament. And that's why you see people skipping to the New Testament. Then they saying there's neither Jew nor Greek. So then they think, okay, there's no Greek, so the white people can be saved too. But they don't understand what was going on throughout history. It's like that when you get into this Bible, you got to actually study, bro. And a lot of these pastors and Christians, they don't study. You got to be like a scholar in this thing. You got to really study the history. You got to study what went on. You got to get into this stuff because it's not going to make sense. So like it's not going to make sense if you don't. You're going to be confused. And when you get the Paul letters, you're going to be like, hold up, what's going on? Because in the Old Testament, he was just saying that got Isaiah 14:1. You know what I'm saying? Going into how the heathen was going to be destroyed and they're going to be serving us in the kingdom. Got Isaiah 60. I think start at 60, 11 on down. Going to how they're going to have to serve us. How they going to bow down to us. Right? But then you got the book of Obadiah. Well, you got all these books. But when they get to the New Testament, it's like, hold up, what's going on? Because now he's saying they can be saved. But that's when we finna have, Lord, when we're gonna have some understanding, during this class, just for brothers already know, but we can just to sharpen our swords a little bit, man. Because in the highways and byways, it's always them Christians want to come up, always trying to save the heathen, always trying to go to Paul. Paul, a mighty brother, man, but you got to understand what he's saying. So we finna start with our foundation. So King, can you give me let me see what I want real quick. Can you give me Leviticus 26 and 33 first? Because first we got to realize that we were scattered, and we still is scattered to this day, because that was going to be a curse among us, that we was going to be scattered. So you got to think about it. It's Israel all around the world now. It's Israel scattered all around the world. So we finna get an understanding. So you can get that, King.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 26 and verse 33. I will scatter you among the heathen, and I will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste.
Right. So the Lord say he gonna scatter us among the heathens. Now it's very important to remember that he gonna scatter the Israelites among the heathen. It's very important to remember that, scatter among the heathen, because when you get into Paul's letters, or when you get into the book of Acts, you're gonna see where Paul writing his letter to these specific churches, but he always addressed who he writing to, because we were scattered among these heathens. Just like in today's time, when we bringing the word out, right? When we're on the highways and byways preaching, we out there, we are among all the heathen, right? But our message is sent to one group of people, which are the Israelites. But we are among the heathen, though. That's the same as that thing back in those times, back in the ancient times. Same as that thing was going on. We were scattered among so-called white people. We were scattered among so-called Chinese people, so-called Eastern. We were scattered among all these people. So Paul was writing these letters, which I'm gonna prove that soon. He was writing these letters to Israelites, to scatter the Israelites, man, because you had some of our people already knowing they Israelite. You had our people in Jerusalem, they already knew they was Israelites. They already was keeping the commandments. But the ones that were scattered, right? They're the ones, a lot of them start taking the custom of the heathens and start, worshiping other gods and things like that. And some of them grew up not knowing who they is. A lot of our people grew up thinking they Greeks. So if you grow up not knowing that you're an Israelite and not knowing that you got commandments to keep, how you gonna live then? If you grew up around Greeks, you're gonna grow up thinking you're a Greek. You're gonna grow up in Greek customs. My bad, King. I didn't even see him. You got it.
Oh, so like I was just gonna read the definition of heathen from the this is coming from the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. It says heathen, people, nation, usually used for non-Israelitish people, and thus has meaning of Gentiles. So when it's talking about heathen, most of the time it's talking about the other nations outside of the nation of Israel. But you got it, King.
Con. That's facts, man. The heathens all the time, most of the time, talking about the other nations, man. Right? Because when you don't got when the Lord didn't give you no commandments, when he didn't give you no order, no statutes, you a heathen. He not dealing with you, man. Right? So can you give me Deuteronomy 4 and 27 to further prove that we were scattered?
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 27. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you.
Right? So the Lord said again, and this is prophecy, man. The Lord said that he was going to scatter us among the nations. Right? So that's exactly what he did. He scattered us, the Israelites, among all these different nations. That's why when you go to any place, you know what I'm saying, or you go to any country, you're going to see our people there. If you go to China, you're going to see our people there speaking Chinese. Right? You're going to see that stuff. Our people going to be speaking Japanese when you go somewhere, Japan. Right? You go to Africa. There's a lot of our people still in Africa. You go to anywhere. Any place you can go, our people gonna be there because we've been scattered there, right? So if you scattered and you among all these different nations, all these different races, like I said earlier, you gonna take in their customs. You gonna start doing what they doing. So Paul had a job here, right? He had the same job Yahushua had, man. They were trying to wake up the Israelites, but a lot of people get that confused, thinking, no, Paul had a different job than Jesus. Paul was sent to the heathen, and Yahushua, Jesus Christ, he was sent to the Israelites. But that don't make sense for Paul to do something completely different than the Messiah. That don't make sense, right? So can you give me Deuteronomy 32 and 26, King?
This book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 26. I said I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
Right, from among them?
From among men.
Oh, from men, like you. That's same. Hey, I wrote that down wrong, but the same thing, man. The Lord said he gonna cause their remembrance to cease among men, right? So that's like kind of a precept for Jeremiah 17 and 4. That's like a precept for Jeremiah 17 and 4, because the Lord said that we're going to discontinue from our heritage. So when you scatter among when he scattered us among the four corners of the earth, we lost everything, man. You know, we lost who he was, right? And our power that we had among these heathen, we lost that too, because now they look at us like what? Thugs, gangbangers, thoughts, we up to no good, black, African American, Puerto Ricans, wetbacks, redskins. They look at us like this now because we lost our heritage. And remember now, we've been scattered, right? So Paul's job was to go to those scattered Israelites, to those dispersed Israelites, and teach the gospel. And I'm gonna get that, and I'm gonna get that. It's a scripture that proves that as well. But also now, King, can you give me Psalms chapter 89 and verse 34?
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 89 and verse 4. Thy seed will I establish forever and build up thy throne to all generations. Selah.
Hold on, my bad. I said, was that Psalms 89 and 34?
Oh, I'm sorry, Selah.
You good, King, you good.
Psalms chapter 89 and verse 34. My covenant will I not break, nor alter the thing that is gone out of my lips.
So a lot of Christians not knowing what they doing, they making the Lord a liar, right? Because the Lord made a covenant with Israel. He said he's not going to break it. He said this, he's not going to break it. So when you saying that, well, the covenant ain't for Israel, or it ain't for Israel no more, the heathen can come in it, you calling the Lord a liar. Because the Lord never said that. Get into the Old Testament, the Lord never said, oh, that now, you know, the covenant was for Israel, but now the heathen can be coming in. Now they can be part of the covenant too. That don't make sense. That don't make sense at all. So the Lord said, my covenant will I not break, nor alter the thing that is going out my lips. So he's not going to break that covenant. He already said it. Okay, the covenants, everything that I said in Romans 9 and 3 and 4, that's sent for Israel. Matter of fact, you can get that, King. Romans chapter 9 and verse 3 through 4.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises.
Right. So we know the Israelites receive all those things, but it don't say nowhere in the scriptures where do the heathens fit in this, man? Because you have a lot of our people try to force the heathen to come into something that they was never part of. Where can you put the heathen in this when it says, when they go into the covenant, what they fit at, man? They don't, because the covenants was never given to them, man. It was given to the Israelites. That's who the covenant was given to. So the Lord said he's not going to break that covenant, man. So for you to say that the heathen can now come in, you saying the Lord, the Lord is a liar. And we know that the Lord doesn't. It's impossible for him to do that. Right? So now we finna get into some history, right? We finna get into some history in the book of First Maccabees. That's in the Apocrypha. I know brothers already know it's in the Apocrypha, First Maccabees. We finna get into this thing because this one reason why they took the Apocrypha out the Bible. It's a reason why they took the Apocrypha out the Bible, man. Because you gotta think about it. It'll make more sense. It'll make more sense when you read the book of First Maccabees and Second Maccabees to understand Paul was writing his letters to Hellenized Israelites. It'll make more sense. It'll make more sense when you read the First Maccabees and Second Maccabees, because you will see what our people was doing. But when you don't have the Apocrypha and when you haven't read First Maccabees and Second Maccabees, you don't know nothing about the Greek captivity, because all the captivities are in the Bible except for the Greek captivity. Why is that? Why they took the Greek captivity out the Bible? Because when you read that scripture, Romans 10 and 12, when it says there's no difference between Jew and Greek, if you would have read First Maccabees and Second Maccabees, it'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense why he said there's no difference between the Jew and the Greek. Because you'll understand that what we finna get, a lot of our people start keeping the customs of the Greeks. A lot of our people started, getting down with the Greeks, start becoming Greeks, stop saying it was Israelites. They started thinking it was Greeks. They started dressing like the Greeks. They started talking like the Greeks. They start, doing the things the Greeks did, all type of stuff. So they start keeping the customs of the Greeks. So then when you get into the scripture, you're like, okay, that makes sense. Why? But we're finna show y'all. I'm finna show y'all some scriptures on that. So can you get me Second Maccabees 4 and 6 through 16? I was going live too. So if it sounds like I'm talking to
Second Maccabees chapter 4, verse 4.
Second Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 6 through 16.
Maccabees chapter 4, verse 6. For he saw that it was impossible that the state should continue quiet, and Simon leave his folly, unless the king did look thereunto. But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes took the kingdom, Jason, the brother of Onias, labored underhand to be high priest, promising unto the king by intercession 360 talents of silver, and of another revenue 80 talents. Beside this, he promised to assign 150 more, if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise and for the training of youth in the fashions of the heathen, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochians, which when the king had granted and he had gotten into his hand the rule, he forthwith brought his own nation to the Greekish fashion.
Right.
And okay.
Oh yeah, you good. You can start right there. So you actually seeing history, how our people selling out. That happened throughout the whole. A lot of our people sold out during the Greek captivity, man. He basically bringing his people to the Greeks to learn how to keep the customs of the Greeks, man. Trying to set up a place to exercise for the Greeks. And it's a brother, man. This is an Israelite brother, man, that he's selling out. Right? He's trying to be Greek. He's trying to keep the custom of the Greeks. So you can keep going, King, where you left off at.
Verse 11. And the royal privileges granted of special favor to the Jews by the means of John, the father of Eupolemus, who went ambassador to Rome for amity and aid. He took away and putting down the governments which were according to the law, he brought up new customs against the law. For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself, and brought the chief young men under his subjection, and made them wear a hat.
So now, my bad, King. So brother, see what's going on, man. Like the brother is basically like, he's saying, man, to heck with my heritage, to heck with my culture. We finna start living like the Greeks. That's basically what he doing. He basically like changing the scenery around to the Greeks lifestyle, to how they live. That's exactly what he doing. It said, let me reread. I'm gonna start at verse 11 on down. When he said, and putting down the governments which were according to the law, he brought up new customs against the law. So he said, man, we to heck with our law, to heck with our commandments. We're gonna bring in new laws. We're gonna bring in new order to fit the customs of the Greeks, man. That's what our people was doing. A lot of our people, when the Greeks was that, it was a time where, the Greeks was stepping on people's necks, right? They was on top at one time, and a lot of our people was like, man, okay, man, the Greeks, man, they going crazy right now, man. So we need, if we want to stay alive, we need to say that we Greeks. Or, man, a lot of our people just like how the Greeks was living. So they forsook their own way that the Lord gave them, and they start following the customs of the Greeks, and they became Greeks, man. Right? They became Greeks. But you got it, King.
Verse 13. Now such was the height of Greek fashions and increase of heathenish manners through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch, and no that the priests had no courage to serve anymore at the altar, but despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifices, hastened to be partakers of the unlawful allowance in the place of exercise. After the game of discus called them forth. After the game of discus called them forth. Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all.
So start right there, King. So like it. So they said not setting by the honor of their fathers, but liking the glories of the Grecians best of all. So you had during this time when the Greeks was on top, a lot of our people they wasn't caring about their customs no more, man. They started doing what the Greeks was doing. You know, if you know the history of the Greeks, man, the Greeks were like the nasty, man. Probably the nastiest people. You know, they were wrestling naked. They was laying down with animals, bestiality, men sleeping with men. You need to see, when you read the book of First Maccabees and you see how they messed up our altar and how they took over everything and just trashed everything, man. They was a terrible people, but a lot of our people got down with them. Even in today's time, you know, a lot of our people call themselves Greeks when they get into these fraternities and sororities. They call themselves Greeks, and a lot of stuff they do to get into those fraternities and sororities goes back to those ancient Greeks. No, that's why that's why a lot of them don't speak on what they had to do to get in there, because they understand. They know it's weird. They know it's like it's unusual. Like they know it's nasty. A lot of stuff they had to do. But it all goes back to these Greeks right here that we're reading about. It ain't nothing new under the sun. The scriptures say it's nothing new under the sun. So when you had our people selling out, you know, and trying to keep the customs of the Greeks, you got that right now. A lot of our people call themselves Greeks. They don't even want to call themselves Israelites. No, I'm a Greek. I'm an Alpha. I'm an Alpha. I'm a Kappa. I'm a what's on Alpha, Kappa? I don't know a lot of them. But y'all, you know what they say. I'm a Q, right? They say those things, man, but they really Israelites. So that what was going on during this time. I'm gonna get some more history on it too, but you can read 16, King.
Verse 16. By reason whereof sore calamity came upon them, for they had them to be their enemies and avengers, whose customs they followed so earnestly, and unto whom they desired to be like in all things.
So it said, man, they followed their custom earnestly. And it said unto whom they desired to be like in all things. So think about it. And our people was really trying to get down with the Greeks. So if the Greeks was wrestling naked, guess what? You had our brothers out there saying, I want to do that too. They were wrestling naked. You had the Greeks burning their skin. Guess what our brothers was doing? Okay, I'm finna burn my skin. Right? You had all that stuff going on to the point where they looked at their own people as enemies. Here you got Israelites. You got brothers selling out, right? Trying to be like the Greeks. They selling out. So now they looking at their people as enemies too. Now they trying to destroy our people like the real Greeks is. So this what was going on during. That's why it's very important to read First Maccabees and Second Maccabees and have the Apocrypha, because if you don't have the Apocrypha, you missing a big part of history. You missing the Greek captivity, which is very important, because when you get the Paul letters, you got to understand what's going on. You got to understand what happened from the time where the Old Testament saying that the heathen gonna be destroyed to now. You got to understand what's going on in the New Testament, because you got to get into this history right here. So can you get Second Maccabees 6:1-6?
Hey, I just wanted to say,
my bad, Ken.
Verse 16, it say by reason, because we say verse 15, not setting by the honors of their fathers, but like in the glory of the Grecians best of all. And because of that, in verse 16, by reason whereof sore calamities came upon them. So it's saying like we started acting like them, and because of that, sore calamities fell on us. Like they was eating unclean food. We eating the unclean food. Now we getting high blood pressure. Now
right.
we say they saved their face off. We trying to save our face off like them. We get razor bumps. So like those are them sore calamities that was falling on them. And it say, for they had them to be their enemies and avengers, whose customs they followed so earnestly. So these were our enemies whose customs we was following. Let's make it clear that them was our enemies that whole time. But you got it, King.
No, that's the
verse you say.
Second Maccabees 6:1-6. But yeah, that's a mighty point, man. That's a mighty point. Cause you know, when you just like we so-called Americans, you have a lot of our people getting down, you know, with America. They keeping Christmas, they keeping Thanksgiving, they keeping Easter, they eat, like the brother said, they eat pork. Now they got high blood pressure, now they got heart problems. They shaving their beard, now they getting razor bumps. Now the heathen ain't, the so-called white man, he not getting razor bumps under his chin, but we is. Because that's punishment, that's judgment, because you selling out and you doing you doing stuff that you're not supposed to be doing. You an Israelite, you're supposed to be keeping these commandments. But a lot of brothers and sisters, they liked what the Greeks was doing. So they said, okay, I'm not an Israelite no more. You know, I'm done with that. They acting like it's a religion. I'm done with it. I'm not an Israelite no more. I'm a Greek. I'm a big Greek. Yeah. No, that people is on. I'm a Greek. So can you give me that Second Maccabees 6:1-6, King? Hey, my nose, man.
Second Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their father and not to live after the laws of God.
So let me say something right there, King. Masalaki, let me say something right there. So this is very important, man. This is very, very, very important. So he actually sending people. You know what I'm saying? He sent an old man to compel us. He said to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. So that's what they was doing, man. Because they want that so-called what is called New World Order. So everybody be on one. They wanted everybody to be on one type of time. And they definitely wanted us to depart from our commandments, because they already knew if we depart from our commandments, they're gonna be on our necks. They go back to the book of Judith in the Apocrypha. So it said, man, he tried to get them to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of God. So that's what their plan was, to get the Israelites to depart from the laws of our fathers, which is these laws, statutes, and commandments, the commandments that we preach every weekend to our people. We keep those. I mean, we tell those commandments to our people to keep. These are the same ones that he was trying to tell them not to keep. Wear your fringes. He trying to tell them, like, you don't need to wear that no more. We got something for you to wear. We tell our people don't eat pork. He trying to compel them. Hey man, eat the pork. It's just meat. It ain't nothing. It ain't nothing wrong with that pork. It ain't nothing wrong with that. The law tell the men to keep their beard. He trying to come to him and tell him, hey man, you look better without a beard. You know, I know it's hairy. I know it be itching, right? He was trying to compel our people not to keep the laws and not to live after the laws of God. So think about that. You know, it had to be a lot of our people say, okay, we're gonna do it. All of our people just didn't say, no, I ain't doing that. I'm keeping the laws and commandments. I'm not finna turn on my people. I'm not finna turn on the Most High God. No, you gotta think, man, Israel, we wicked, bro. We are a wicked people. So you know you had a lot of our people be like, okay, I'm down. Let's go. What I gotta do? I'm ready. That's that a lot of our people did, right? But you can keep going, King.
Verse 2. And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter of Olympius, and that in garrison of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place.
Now check this out, King. So like, King, check this out. This is so cold, right? Because we know that the heathen, they not allowed in our temple, bro. They not even allowed. They not even supposed to be in there. But check this out. It said, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem. That's how you know they don't care about us, bro. They understand. Best believe they understood. They understood how sacred our temple was. They know they wasn't supposed to be in there. They knew that. It said, and to pollute also the temple of Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius. So they changed, they polluted the temple and they changed it to something else. They changed it to a whole nother name. Right? And it said, and that in garrison of Jupiter, the defender of strangers. So now they saying like, okay, now, you know, the Jews were like, we can't be in here, but now anybody can be in here now. You know, you can have any race of people come in here now and be in the temple. Now check this out. Don't that sound like Christianity? Everybody can come in now. Everybody can serve God now. That's the same thing they was doing back in the Greeks. They were all trying to get everybody to be one. They all wanted this. They all wanted that one unity with everybody. They just made a temple, knowing the temple just for us. They made they defiled the temple, they polluted it, and then they made the temple for everybody can come in now. You see what I'm saying? That's wicked, right? But and they did desire that dwelt in that place. So you had a lot of our people was in there desiring it. You know what I'm saying? That's wicked. You have Israelites in there. They knowing the heathen not supposed to be in there, and they letting them in there, and they desiring it with the heathen, in there looking, in there chilling with the heathen while in our temple. Right? But you got it, King.
Verse 3. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do within the circuit of the holy places. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. The altar was also filled with profane things, which the law forbidded. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days, or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
Right.
And in the day,
okay, you can start. You keep going. You can start. We can start right there, King. Hold up. Let me see. Oh no, you can stop at. Wait, dang, that's whew. Nah, you can stop at 8, King. So like, you can stop at 8.
And in the day of the king's verse 7, and in the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus, carrying idols. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifice.
And I'm gonna say this real quick, Aliyah, and I'm gonna let you get it, man. But I just want to, matter of fact, I want to read back over what you just said. I want to break down each line, because Matter of fact, Aliyah, you go first. Now I break it down. You can go first, King.
I just wanted to just point out the fact what it was saying. Like it said, it was verse 6 says, neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts or profess himself to be a Jew. And it's just crazy. Like it was a law against basically calling yourself a Jew to keep in our culture. It was unlawful for us to keep our culture that we was keeping. You know what I'm saying? And then you had people that was actually still doing that, right? And then you got people now that don't understand. Also, just another tip. It's two points I want to bring out.
You got it.
One, how our forefathers back then, they was going against the law. You had some, not everybody was living like this, but you had some people that was going against the laws of the heathen that was telling us that we couldn't do these things, right? And you got us right now, how we're willingly, you know what I'm saying, we want to do these things, you know what I'm saying, we got the freedom, the liberty to do these things, because there was one point in time where people couldn't do these things, but now the Israelites, now we have liberty to keep the Sabbath day, we have liberty to keep the feast, you know what I'm saying, to do the things of a Jew, and to even perfect yourself as a Jew. We have the liberty to do that, but you got some people that don't even want to do such things, right? And then my second point was, I just want to bring it out as in how, you know what I'm saying, that's where it came, a lot of our people, after they've been scattered abroad, right, and being conquered by so many people, they wouldn't call themselves Jews. We had some people, they were so used to calling something, because some people, they would adhere to those laws saying, well, hey, I can't call myself a Jew. Some will call myself a Greek now. I'm a Greek now. But then now you have, after a while, I'm 80 years old. So I say I'm gonna call myself a Greek, right? So now my son, he's 40. He called himself a Greek, right? So now my grandson, and he's like 10 years old, and he said, well, I'm a Greek. So now you have a people that have say, well, hey, I'm a Greek now. I done forgot who I really am, right? And then thus you have when Paul was talking about to the Jew and to the Greek. You have people, their mind was messed up.
Right.
Over generations. So now they saying, well, hey, I'm a Greek now because it was unlawful for them to call themselves a Jew. Now they saying I'm a Greek. And so that's what you have with those, what Paul was coming for the Gentiles. Because you had Israelites that was convinced in their mind that I'm a Greek.
Right.
My granddad had been saying he's a Greek. My dad had been saying he's a Greek. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that I yield though.
That's fast. That's big fast. But that's fast. You got Nate, Sean.
I just wanted to show everybody block. Let me share my screen real quick. Y'all can see my screen.
Come on.
All right. That's Bacchus, the little drinking baby. Ivy around his head. That's why they made him come out wearing ivy. And you see, this is profane. This is filthy. This is pedophilia. They call this child pornography today, but yet this is what they was worshiping. I mean, and they got the other statues. Is all of them naked. You see him holding a little boy being naked. Like, that's ridiculous, man. But that's what they was worshiping. I just wanted to bring that up. Let y'all see what.
Nah, that's facts, man. And the Greeks, that's what I was saying. Like the Greeks, man, they are, and that's why the scriptures say there's no profane person like Esau, man. Right? We know that the Greeks, the Greeks were Edomites, man. Right? They were so-called white people. And you see, when you look into how the Greeks got down, even just like the brother just showed a statue of the Greeks, that they always was naked. Why they always naked? Why they always naked around little kids? Why they always holding little kids while they naked? That was their customs, man. And our people, and you had some of our people, and I'm gonna prove that you had some of our people freely get down with being with the Greeks, but you also had some of our people that was like, man, I know I'm an Israelite, I want to be an Israelite, but if I don't be a Greek, they gonna kill me. Because it was a time where, hey, they was burning Bibles, right? Like the brother just read in verse 6, he was like, man, it was like He said, neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So it was a time where you couldn't say that you was a Jew. So what did a lot of our people say? If it was a crime to say that you was an Israelite or a Jew, what did you think our people started saying they was? Greeks. They started saying, I'm a Greek. Oh no, I'm a Greek, bro. If I say I'm an Israelite, I'm gonna get thrown in jail. You know what I'm saying? They might kill me. So I'm gonna say I'm an Israelite. I'm gonna say I'm a Greek now. Right? And going back to verse 4, I'm gonna reread what the brother had read. Was mighty. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who, what they say, dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. So think about this. And besides, let me keep reading. And beside that, brought in things that were not lawful. So just think about somebody coming into you. I'm gonna use this as an example. Somebody coming into your house, right? Just say y'all at your house. Somebody come in there and be like, hey, nah, bro, you got to get out. They kick you out and they start remodeling your house with folly and madness. They start putting bringing statues in of idols, right? They start burning your stuff in that you got, burning your Bible, and they start painting it, they color with it, how they want to paint it. They start just in there drinking and fighting in your house. This is your house now. They in there fighting and getting drunk in your house and drinking and having sex with all these different women, men laying with women. Men laying with men, women laying with women, threesome going on, and just all that stuff going on in your house, right? And they bringing unlawful things in your house, right? They bringing they cooking pork in your kitchen. You know, they got having a crab boiling there, right? They bringing all type of unlawful things in there, man. Probably got the weed in there, got the crack. They doing all type of stuff in your house. That's kind of like the same thing that happened with us. They came in there and defiled our temple and did whatever they want to do in there. And it said the altar was filled with profane things which the law forbid. So you can only imagine, bro. You can only imagine what they had in there, man. You can only imagine what they had going on inside the temple, man. It didn't even get in depth with what they had in there. It probably was so bad it couldn't even, the scriptures didn't even get deep on what they had in there, but it just told you it was filled with profane things which the law forbiddeth, man. You don't know what was going on in there. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So going back to what the brother Aliyah said, was it was really a crime to be who the Most High God called you to be. It was a crime to keep the Sabbath day. It was a crime to wear your fringes. It was a crime to say that you was an Israelite, man. So a lot of our people was going around saying, okay, I can't be an Israelite because they're gonna kill me. So I gotta confess myself to be a Greek. So I'm a Greek now. So that makes more sense when you read Romans 10 and 12, when he said there's no difference between the Jew and the Greek. The Lord says not no difference between them because we are the same people. Those Hellenized Jews and the Jews that knew who they was, we the same exact people. That's why the Lord said is no difference between y'all. Just one of y'all calling y'allself Greeks and one of y'all calling y'allself Israelites. But at the end of the day, y'all the same people. Y'all under the same God. He wasn't talking about the real actual Greeks. We know it's a complete difference between us. We know it's a complete difference between us and the so-called white man. So why would the Lord say there's no difference between us? It don't make sense. It's complete different between us. But he was saying that to say, hey, just because he calling himself a Greek, just because he keeping Greek customs, I'm still his God, right? He's still an Israelite by blood. It don't matter if he say he a Greek or not. It don't matter if he keeping the customs of the Greeks or not. He's still a Israelite. And that's what Paul's mission was, to let our people know. Just because you keeping these customs of the heathens, just because you calling yourself what they is, listen, I'm writing this to you. I'm going around preaching to you that you are an Israelite. You got to come back and keep these commandments. You're not a Greek and you're not a Roman. You're an Israelite. That was Paul's job. But I'm finna get two more scriptures going into First Maccabees and what happened to us. Oh, my bad. You got it, Aliyah.
you just brought out like how Paul, you know what I'm saying, letting them people know like you're not a group. I mean, you got a Greek, you're a Jew. You know what I'm saying? You're not a Roman, you're a Jew. You got a Corinthian, you're a Jew. And it's kind of crazy, but when you go through the scriptures, it says that there's nothing new under the sun. We're literally doing the same thing. We're telling our people, we out in the highways and byways, we tell our people, you're not black, you're not an African American, you're not a Negro, you're not colored, you're an Israelite.
Right.
We're doing the same thing. So Lord is putting that same spirit back on the earth right now. Same spirit that Paul had in his spirit. We're doing the same thing. We're going to those people that say, well, hey, I'm an African American, right? My culture is rap music and being a damn harlot, wearing no damn clothes and being a damn a drug dealer. That's my culture. I'm being a thug. And we telling them, no, that's not your culture. Your true culture is you keeping these commandments, fearing the Most High God, right? Repenting in the last day. That's your true culture, right? So we're walking in the same spirit as our forefather Paul. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to bring that out, though.
Con. And that's a mighty point, man. That's exactly what we doing right now. Like the brother said, hold on, Salakia, it's nothing new under the sun. It's nothing new under the sun. So the same thing we doing now. When y'all see brothers on the highways and byways bringing the words out, we basically doing the same thing Paul was doing. We letting our people know. And it's so crazy because a lot of our people, even in today's time, would say, I'm a Gentile. I ain't no Jew, I'm a Gentile. I'm a Greek. They still say that stuff now, but we doing the same thing Paul was doing. We going and letting them know, like the brother Aliyah just said, no, your culture is not rap music, right? Your culture is not Halloween, Thanksgiving, Easter. You're not supposed to be doing that. We letting them know that, hey, y'all are the Israelites. Y'all got to wake up and come out of that Gentile state of mind, right? Y'all got to realize that y'all not Americans. That's the same thing Paul was doing when he was going right into these churches. He was writing to our people that were scattered among these places, among the heathen, right? But King, can you give me that First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 11 through 15?
This is the book of First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go up and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
Let me get that real quick, King. So you had wicked men. Now the scriptures, the scriptures called them boy wicked. You had literally during the time of the Greeks. Now this was the time where the Greeks had their foot on our necks. Before Judas Maccabees and them brothers came. But it said in those days went there out of Israel wicked men and made a covenant with the heathen. So you had just imagine you had wicked Israelites. You had brothers going over there what the Greeks said and making a covenant with them. Hey, we'll do whatever y'all want us to do. What y'all want us to do? Y'all need us to go steal something? Y'all need us to go set somebody up, right? We'll do whatever we will do whatever y'all want us to do, man. Let us be one of y'all. That's what brothers was doing. He said, they are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So you had brothers just, what I'm saying, selling out because our people was down at that moment and they seen the Greeks up. They're like, man, I can't do this no more, man. I ain't ate in 3 days. My kids hungry. Man, I see them having so much fun. They laughing, they wrestling naked, they having a good time. Man, I want to be one of them, man. I want to be on top. Our people like to be on top. Our people, just like when it comes to money and being on top in the rap game, they'll do anything to be on top. They'll do anything for their name to be on top. And that was the same thing. They was like, man, we down right now, man. This ain't it. Well, we see the Greeks up right now. So what? Let's go be a Greek so we can get a name. Let's go be a Greek so we can be on top, right? But you got Aliyah.
I like King, but it's so crazy that the lesson. Thanks for bringing out is so mighty in the spirit, and what's crazy because what you're saying right now is literally the reality that we live in right now. Like our people right now, you got people. Once we start telling them about how you know what I'm saying, that the so-called white man is basically going to be shit in the, excuse my language, but shit in the kingdom of heaven. He's going to be nothing but trash. And they kind of get in their feelings. They kind of like, no, that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like how that same spirit. You know what I'm saying? Those people, they were saying, oh, you know, since we done left them, you know what I'm saying? They down. They kind of sad, man. Oh, I can't be with Tom no more. I can't be with Billy no more. But the point is, like you said, the same spirit is on our people now. They can't do nothing with a so-called white man now. You know what I'm saying? They hate to separate from him. You telling me that we're above them? We're not equal to them? Not on the same level as them? We're not below them? We're actually above them. They don't like that. You know what I'm saying? Some people, when they hear that they're above the Israel, I don't believe that. I feel like everybody's equal. Even though the Bible plainly says that the Israelites are above all nations that's upon the face of the earth, once they hear that they're above the Israel, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like everybody is equal. They like to bring up, I feel like Jesus died for all our sins. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy, but our people have that same spirit, that same mentality right now. And I forgot what they call that. I forgot what this syndrome they call that.
Stockholm.
Huh?
Stockholm syndrome? Wait, Stockholm?
Stockholm syndrome. That
right.
is the same mentality, the Stockholm syndrome. The same people that put us in captivity, the Greeks, they want to be like the Greeks. The same people that defiled our temple, that disrespect us, that killed their mothers and their fathers for circumcising their children, killed those babies, stole those babies off the wall, did all those things they did, killed our people for keeping a Sabbath day in the damn cave, so they killed them. Now they saying, well, I want to be like these people. That's Stockholm syndrome. And guess what happened here in America? They lynched our people. They fed our babies alligators. They whipped us. You know what I'm saying? They put us down. They sprayed us with damn water holes. They put dogs on us. They did every damn thing to us, right? Defiled us, right? Robbed and spoiled us, right? And our people still saying, hey, I want to be like them. I got to have them in my household. I want to invite them to the cookout. Stockholm syndrome. But that's the king.
Con, man. Stockholm syndrome. What our people had and what our people still have to this day. But you got it, King.
Con, yeah, I just want to share my screen real quick. Show the definition of Stockholm syndrome. Y'all can see that, yeah. So it says Stockholm syndrome is a coping mechanism to a captive or abusive situation. People develop positive feelings toward their captors or abusers over time. This condition applies to situations including child abuse, coach-athlete abuse, relationship abuse, and sex trafficking. So that's what our people definitely dealing with, man. Stockholm syndrome. Over time, we learn to not only deal with, but love our oppressors. But you gotta keep.
Con, man, that's facts, and we see that in today's time, man. A lot of our people got that Stockholm syndrome. You know, they quit to jump down on their brother, but when Esau or you know what I'm saying, another nation do something to him, it's like I'll give him another chance. But you quit to hot down on your brother. That's that Stockholm syndrome, and a lot of our people got that. But you keep reading on King the verse 15. Oh, my bad. Con, you got it, King. I ain't see it.
You good, King. Hey, that is a problem that we still got and been dealing with. My son can't pull a precept for me. Exodus 14 and 12. Because we did it even back then.
Mm-hmm.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 14 and verse 12. Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. Right. See, so our people, man, we would love to run back to the same people that's oppressing us. That's all I wanted to bring out, man.
That's fast. That's running back the master, man. Running back to master. That's what our people love to do. Run back to him. And that's why this so-called white man, he had his foot on our neck and still do for so long, because that's Stockholm syndrome, man. But you got it, King.
All right. First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 12. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, that made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Now, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of 2 realms.
And it's, bro, just imagine you in Jerusalem, right? And you see brothers building an exercise facility in there for the Greeks, for the heathen. Just imagine you seeing it, and they got permission from the king to do that. They probably went to the king, we got an idea that we came up with, and we want to build an exercise facility for you guys in Jerusalem. We're gonna build it up. We're gonna have statues in there for you guys. Might have a picture of a naked baby in there for you. We're gonna have food, pork and stuff set up in case brothers get hungry while they working out. They can go over there to the station and eat some pork. We're gonna have all that set up. So they had to get permission from the king to do that. And quick question for brothers. I got a question. When it said, and they made themselves, and they made, in verse 15, when it said, and they made themselves uncircumcised, please don't tell me that's talking about they was once circumcised and then they uncircumcised, or they never got circumcised. What happened then? Brothers know when they made themselves uncircumcised.
I would say, King, that's just going into they made themselves uncircumcised as in, I said you gotta be a Jew inwardly and outwardly. You know what I'm saying? They was doing the basically I'm uncircumcised in the spirit, like your spirit not circumcised.
Okay.
Paul had made a couple references saying even though you be circumcised, but you still could be out there wilding.
Right, right.
Like you can have the physical appearance, but you don't have the physical appearance. I mean, not you can have the physical appearance, but you have a spiritual appearance, and you're still going to hell off. You know what I'm saying? It's like basically I got my fringes on, but I'm still out here a wicked nigga. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they could have got circumcised physically, but they made themselves uncircumcised spiritually, doing the things of the heathen. You know what I'm saying? You got really say they had the gymnasium at the time. And we know that gymnasium, you had men exercising butt booty naked together. You know what I'm saying? They just all this they done took to the lifestyle of the heathens. And if you're doing the things of the heathen, you're not doing the things of the Most High God. So therefore, you're living an uncircumcised lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like you're living like you're not a part of the covenant. Because when the circumcision was part of making a covenant to the Lord. And what was that covenant? That we was gonna keep the commandments. So when you start doing contrary to the covenant, now you're being uncircumcised in the spirit. But
that definitely makes sense. That definitely makes sense, man. The water. And it said, and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen. So going back to what I had just read, what the brother Nation had read earlier, they forsook like everything. They forsook. So you might have had brothers and sisters used to keep Pentecost, used to keep Passover, used to keep Feast of Dedication, right? They used to keep all those different days. They forsook that. Used to keep the Sabbath day. They forsook that and be like, nah, to hell with that. Why we finna start doing what the Greeks do. We ain't none of those covenant no more. We with the Greeks now. We big dogs. We with the Greeks. That's what was happening. So now it makes more sense when you read Paul's letters, and you will see when you see stuff like Jew, there's no difference between the Jew and the Greek. You'll be like, oh, that makes sense. He's trying to call them back. Because they so lost, they were so bugged out into different things, into thinking they something that they not. Paul gotta try to bring them back to the fold, bring them back to that tree, right? So now can you get me that first Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 41 through 49?
First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41. Moreover, and King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
He should what?
He should die.
Man, so all this stuff taking place, man. That was going back to that new world order, and that's gonna come back soon, right? They're gonna try to have us on that new world order. Hey, man, forsake your laws. It ain't nothing new under the sun, right? He told us, hey, man, he wrote it to, just notice he specifically wrote it to us. He wrote it, he sent letters and messages to Jerusalem. So that's to tell you, right? They know about us, man. They know who we is, and their main job is to try to destroy us, man. So it said he did all that. He tried to get us to leave our laws. He says, yeah, many also the Israelites considered to his religion. So if they considered to his religion, that means they wasn't saying they Israelites no more. So what was they saying they was? Greeks, Gentiles. That's what they was. Because if you ain't keeping the commandments, you will be so-called a Gentile. And that's how a lot of our brothers looked at a lot of our people that wasn't keeping the laws and commandments. They looked at them like, man, they not part of us. They are a heathen. And I'm gonna show you that Yahweh Shah even said that in Matthew real soon. And he said, they forbid us to do our customs. And you wonder why we keeping Thanksgiving now. You wonder why we keeping Easter and Valentine's Day and Christmas and St. Patrick Day. We keeping all these days now because it was a time during those time of the Greeks, you couldn't keep your days. And if you did do burnt offering, you had to do unclean animals. That's wicked. That's wicked, man. They had our people sacrificing swine's flesh in the altar. Just imagine that, swine's flesh, right? Probably sacrificing possums, right? Sacrificing all cats, sacrificing. You don't never know what they had going on, but they had our people doing that because they wanted everybody on that new world order. So, hey man, if you gonna be with us, you gotta do what we gotta do. And that's technically how it's gonna be in the kingdom of heaven, right? But it's gonna be us in rulership, because when you in rulership, you got authority, right? So you basically set the rules. So it's gonna be the same thing with us in the kingdom of heaven. You know, these heathen gonna have to get down. We get down with. They ain't gonna be coming in. They're not gonna be eating no pork if they gonna get down with us, right? Or keep our laws. They're not gonna eat no pork. They're not gonna eat no crab leg, shrimp, and lobster. They're gonna have to forsake all that. And that's the same thing they did to us, though. They made us forsake our laws in order to get down with them. But I don't know who had their hand up first, but brothers got it.
Bring out in verse 41. He said, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. Basically, what that is democracy. Let me share my screen real quick. and show the definition of democracy, right? In particular, this third definition right here, it say the practice or principles of social equality, right? So that's all that he was saying. The people should be all one people. And then when you go down, that's the same thing United States of America do today. And then when you go down to verse 43, it says, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion. So democracy or everybody being one people, that's actually a religion. This people going out to vote and polls and stuff like that, that's a religion. So when you participate in that function, you actually worship in the way that they want you to worship and not the way that the Most High said to worship. You got it, Aliyah. Mighty point. And I just wanted like I said, not I don't want us to be like a broken record, but it's just like the Spirit just having same thing over and over again. Nothing new under the sun. You see it right now. He said, like the brother said, they consented to the religion. Guess what our people done consented to? Our people done consented to Christianity. Our people have consented to being a Muslim. Our people consented to being keeping Christmas, New Year, all these different Hellenistic days. They consent to these things. They can accept these things. We consent to something.
You still on the call?
You know what I'm saying? And that's what our people did now. And they consent to this thing, man. They down with it, man. They down with this wicked religion, the ways of this wicked world, right? This wicked democracy. My brothers got it.
Con, man, and that's facts. People getting down with it. People be quick to get down with it, man. Quick to get down with the heathen. There's nothing new under the sun. The same as that thing happened. And then verse 49 said, I'm gonna start at 49 through 50. He said, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances, and whosoever would not do according to the commandments of the king. So the Israelites that rebelled and was like, man, I'm not finna do that, bro. You're not finna stop me from keeping the Sabbath day. You're not finna stop me from wearing my fringes. You're not finna stop me from keeping the feast days. The Israelites that said that, it said he was put to death. You was put to death for keeping your customs that the Most High God gave you, right? That's exactly what happened. So in the time of the Maccabees, you had a lot of our people. A lot of our people confessed themselves to be Greeks. A lot of our people left their customs and started keeping the customs of the Greeks. So what you think our people did when it was in Rome? Did the same exact thing. Start saying it was Romans. So that's why Paul was writing these letters to these different places to our people. That's why he always specified who he is writing his letters to. He always either said, most of the time, my brethren or the saints. He was letting them know that this is not for. Why would he write a letter first and foremost? Why would Paul be writing a letter if it's for everybody though? A letter is for a specific person or a specific group of people. That's what a letter is made for. If it was for everybody, if it was for all the Romans, he wouldn't write a letter. He wouldn't write a letter. And a lot of these Christians be reading Paul letters like it's for them. It's like, bro, it's basically like you stealing mail. This message and Paul letters, these letters are sent to the Israelites. And it's like when these heathens be reading Paul letters, it's like they be stealing our mail. I mean, that's a crime. You can't steal nobody's mail, especially here in America. You go to jail. So that way, when they reading Paul letters and trying to make it relate to them, it's like, bro, that's a crime because Paul wasn't even talking to y'all. You know? So, King, can you get Aliyah, you said you had something else, King? I think he had his hand on. I don't know if he had put his hand down. He probably forgot to put his hand down. But before now, I'm gonna pull 3 scriptures before I get into Paul letters, just to like I was saying earlier, to set the foundation. So because what the Lord said in the Old Testament, he wouldn't lie and say something else in the New Testament that's different. Once he said it, he said it. So can you give me John chapter 4 and verse 22? And these scriptures are gonna help too when I get into Cornelius, because you have the heathen, they go to him saying that he was a Edomite. Cornelius, he wasn't an Israelite, but I got it's scriptures to prove that Cornelius was an Israelite. Just because he's with the Italian band doesn't mean he wasn't an Israelite. Just like just like in America, in the armies in America, in the branches in America, don't you have so-called black men in these armies? Don't you have so-called black police officers? So what make people can't just say just because he's with the Italian band that he was a white man? That don't make no sense. Paul even had, not Paul, Saul had an Edomite in his army. What's his name? Doug was Doeg or Doug the Edomite. He had an Edomite in his army, right? See, so it built up with different nations of people was in a lot of armies back then. But can you give me that John 4 and 22, King?
This is the book of John, chapter 4 and verse 22. Ye worship ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews.
Right. So the Lord said, hey man, plain and simple. Salvation is of the Jews. Right. So no other race of people is going to receive that salvation but the Jews. Right. But the Israelites. So can you give me Psalm chapter 147 and verse 19 through 20? Because we can't make these other races of people be a part of something that they was never a part of. But you got it, King.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 147 and verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. Ye have not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord.
So this all praise. So the Lord said, he showed his words to us, to Jacob and Israel, his statutes and his judgments. But he never dealt so with any other nation. He never dealt so with any other nation or people. Never. He never did that. He only dealt with the Israelites. So I'm just setting the foundation. So we get into the Paul letters and we get into Cornelius. You will see how like the Lord already said he never dealt with any other nation. So how could Cornelius be a heathen? How could he be a heathen? If the Lord just said he don't show his laws and command his statutes to any other nation of people. So how that don't make sense? But can you give me Joel 2 and 27, King?
It's the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed.
Right, so that's proof right there to prove that he's only the God of the Israelites. He said, I'm the Lord thy God and none else. But we know that he the God of this whole world because we know he got the power and the authority over the whole world. But as a people, he only the God of the Israelites. He's not the God of any other people in the Bible. He only the God of the Israelites. That is our God, right? So I say that. Oh, let me get one more. 2 Ezra chapter 3 and verse 31 through 36.
2 Ezra chapter 3 and verse 31. I do not remember how this way may be left. Are they then of Babylon better than they of Zion? Or is there any other people that know of thee besides Israel? Or what generation have so believed thy covenants as Jacob? And yet their reward appeared not, and their labor had no fruit. For I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I see that they flow in wealth, and think not upon thy commandments.
Con. It's like it. That was on that, King.
That was verse 33.
Can you read the 36, King?
Verse 34. Weigh thou there before me, weigh thou there our wickedness now in the balance, and theirs also that dwell in the world, and so shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments? Thou shalt find that Israel by name have kept thy precepts, but not the heathen.
So he said, by Israel by name, we keep the commandments, but not the heathens. The heathens ain't worried about keeping out. Man, the heathens got these all. They got. That's why the heathen got so many guys they rush. They have like 100 guys they rush. They're not worried about keeping our commandments. Hey, go to a so-called white person and tell them, okay, hey, you gotta stop keeping Christmas. You gotta keep Passover. Think they finna listen to you? You think they finna stop keeping Christmas? No, they're not finna stop keeping Christmas. They're not worried about that. No, because Israel, we the only ones that done kept these commandments, right? So now, King, now you can go to Acts chapter 10 and verse 1. And it'll make perfect sense going into Cornelius.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 10 and verse 1. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band.
You can get two, King. You can go to get two.
A devout man, and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always.
Right, so it said that he was a devout man, and he feared God, and he prayed to God always. Now we just read first and foremost Joel 2:27 that he only the God of the Israelites. He only the God of the Israelites, and it said that he was a devout man. Now let get Acts 22 and 12, King, because what do it take for you to be a devout man? Like, what makes you a devout man, and what makes you fear God?
This is the book of Acts, chapter 22 and verse 12. And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there.
So, hey, you become a devout man according to the law, right? And we understand that the law was for the Israelites. And we understand what we just read, what the brother had just read in what? 2nd Ezra chapter 3 and verse 31 through 36 on down, that Israel by name have kept the law, but not the heathen. But you had Cornelius keeping the law. But thing about it is, he was keeping the law, and the only Paul and I'm gonna get that soon. Can you give me that? You got that picture I had sent you, King? But first, before you show that, can you give me Psalms chapter 148 and 14?
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 148 and verse 14. He also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Praise ye the Lord.
Right. So the script Psalm, so what the brother just read in Psalm chapter 148 and 14, it said he also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints. So you can show that picture, King. Was that Cornelius in the Blue Letter Bible? And it said it equals of a horn. Hold up, my phone tripping. Your brother finna pull it up. See? See that? Of an horn. So when you reread that in can you reread that again in Psalms, King?
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 148 and verse 14. Also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Praise ye the Lord.
Right. So a lot of even it's like a lot of these names that we had meaning to them. They had a meaning to them. So when you get into it, Cornelius mean equals of a horn. That's what it equals, of a horn. So when you reread that in Psalms, when it said he also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even the children of Israel, a people near unto him, praise you the Lord. So the Lord knew what he was doing when he gave him that name, because like I just said, a lot of people names back then had meanings to them, and a lot of people names now have meanings to them, right? Have spiritual meanings to them. So now, King, going back to I'm gonna skip down to verse 28 when he gave that vision to Peter. You can get Acts 10 and 28 real quick. Cause we know he gave that dream to Peter when he told Peter it's basically don't call no man common or unclean. That's what Christians want to say. Well, yeah, see, he was a heathen. And now the Lord telling Peter, now don't call him unclean, because he can come back and be part of the fold. But that's not the case.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 10 and verse 28. And he said unto them, ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But God hath showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean.
No, so you have people that see that and be like, see, it said of another nation. It said, hey man, you can't call any man. No, it said, you know that it was an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come into one of another nation. So why did Paul say that? Can you give me Matthew chapter 18 and verse 15 through 17, King? I'm going to show you why Paul said that.
You say Matthew. I'm sorry, so like what you say, Matthew? What now?
Oh, you good, King? Matthew chapter 18 and verse 15 through 17. I'm going to show you why Paul. It's a reason why, not Paul, Peter. So like Peter said that. Peter. It's a reason why Peter said that, because Yahweh said the same exact thing.
All right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 15. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. But if he will not hear thee, and take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as an heathen.
As a what?
As an heathen man.
So you had a lot. Oh, you got my bad, King. It was some more on that.
I said, and a publican.
Con. So during that time, Yahweh Shai basically saying, hey, if they don't want to listen, if you have brothers and sisters that don't want to listen, hey, they heathens. So you had a lot of our people. If you wasn't, getting down with the laws and commandments, if you wasn't around when they was around in Jerusalem, you were looked at as a heathen. You was literally looked at as a heathen. They didn't deal with you. If you how them Greeks, how a lot of our people was keeping the Greek customs, they wasn't gonna deal with them. That's why that's why the Lord told Peter, hey man, don't call any man coming unclean. Because yes, Cornelius not dwelling around y'all, but he's trying to get right. He's trying to get it. He's trying to keep these commandments. He was praying. So that's why he told him, okay, I know how y'all was moving when it was like, hey, I know they heathens if they ain't keeping these laws and commandments, but go to them now. Because it was prophesied that they was going to wake up. So go to them and let them know, hey, let them know what's going on. That's why Paul did what he did, because it was prophesied that was going to happen. So that's why it was during that time, if you wasn't around, or you was so-called, you was somewhere else, and you was around doing other things, or you may have been around other people, heathen, and they was doing other things, you was looked at as a heathen. They wasn't dealing with you then. They wasn't. But now that when he gave Peter that dream to be like, hey man, don't call any man coming or unclean. Because just because they not around you, hey, they still keep some still keeping the commandments. So go unto them. Go talk to Cornelius. Go talk to your brethren now. That was going on, but you got it, King.
I just wanted to bring out a few points that you were saying. You bring out somebody point. One, I wanted to I don't know if brothers brought out 2nd Ezra chapter 3 and verse 36. Did you bring that out?
Con. But we the only ones that knew the law, but not the heathen.
Okay, Con. Just to piggyback on that. When you really think about, like the brother was saying though, like go to a so-called white person telling us you can't keep Christmas, you know what I'm saying? Can't do this, right? Hey, they not listening. You telling the so-called white person, think about this. Who's creating the laws saying that homosexuality is okay? It's okay for a man to be a woman. It's okay for a woman to be a man. They passing these laws. The heathen are passing these laws. So we go in and we tell them that y'all can't do that. Hey, they're not trying to listen. They're not trying to hear that. You telling them that they can't be pedophiles. They're not trying to hear that, right? They're not trying to hear that. Oh, we telling them, hey, you can't eat pork. Hey, they're not trying to hear these things, man. Even though our people don't eat pork, hey, the heathen eat pork too. The heathen, they eat shrimp, they eat lobster. You know what I'm saying? They eat shark. They eat I forgot what that thing is. Calamari. What it is when they call fish eggs? Shark eggs.
I don't know what that is,
Caviar. They call it caviar. They eat caviar. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Lord never said that it's okay for us to eat shark eggs, right? And they do that. That's what caviar is.
Shark eggs?
Yeah, it's shark eggs. You know what I'm saying? Or like different fish eggs, but mostly it's going into like little baby shark eggs. You know what I'm saying? They'll put it together. Huh? Caviar. That's what caviar is. Look it up. Anyway. But you know what I'm saying? It's different fish and eggs though. But anyway, the point of what I'm trying to say is, you know what I'm saying, these heathen, they do whatever the hell they want to do. You know what I'm saying? They the ones that pass the law that it's okay for a man to marry a car. It's okay for a man to marry a tree. You know what I'm saying? Like they the ones that's in charge of all the wild stuff that goes on in America, right? They making these decisions. They down with these things, right? You know what I'm saying? Just people had to vote on that. It wasn't just it happened and people like, they kind of came out. No, you had people that went inside the booth and they kind of voted and said, yeah, I'm down with that. I agree with that. You should be able to marry your car if you want to, right? We know our people aren't doing that. We're not dealing with that, right? But the so-called white man and these heathens, they down with being wicked. They not trying to come to laws and commandments, right? Yeah, that's why you have people right now that think that these heathens they can trust these heathens. They not trying to be a part of your camp. And then they trying to get you to come back in the world. But that's just one point. But I just want to bring out this other point. Like you were saying about how Paul was about Cornelius. One thing I wanted to say is like how you said, well, Cornelius wasn't around like that. Think about his position that he was. He was part of an Italian band, right? It's part of like a camp, basically, like a little a platoon. He was a part of a platoon of these Italian people, right? So he was basically hanging out with Italians. He wasn't hanging out with Peter them. He wasn't hanging out with the apostles. You know what I'm saying? That's just like somebody right now. He might be a CEO of a company, right? And it's nothing but heathen that's around him, but he's trying to come back to the laws, statutes, commandments. Or I eat my brother, talk to him. You know what I'm saying? He was in the military. You know what I'm saying? Over people, over heathens, right? That's Cornelius. He was over people. You know what I'm saying? And so you got brothers that's in positions where they're kind of they're dealing with heathens. They work with the heathens. They kind of over them, right? But they trying to come back to the law, that's commandment. You know what I'm saying? So that's just like us. We not in the military, right? We not dealing with the heathen. We kind of got our own thing going on. We kind of like, well, to hell with you talking on, right? Because you you're the captain over some heathens right now. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like how it would have been in the situation with Cornelius. They saying, well, no, we can't hang with you, Cornelius, because, you know what I'm saying, you a captain over these, or you a leader over these heathen in this Italian band. You
right.
know what I'm saying? That's a proof. But we can't be like that. That'd be off for us to say, to hell with my brother. You know what I'm saying? Or to any, you know, it's other brothers that's actually in the military that's trying to do right by the Most High. You know what I'm saying? My brother ain't the only one. It was another brother I seen on Instagram that he's actually in the military, but he find out who we are according to the Bible, and he's trying to live according to that laws, that's commandments. So who are we to kind of to kick that brother to the side? That's the lesson for us today. You know what I'm saying? Like,
facts.
It's a lesson for us to say, like, dang, we can't, you know what I'm saying? We can't push that brother aside because he's trying to do that. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to get right, even though he's in a position, or like a brother, he might be hell, I don't know. He might be the damn the restaurant manager over a store for damn Moabite Ammonite. What we gonna say, brother? So now we can't hang out with you because you got a store, you're the manager, you kind of over these heathen right now. You know what I'm saying? We can't do things like that, you know, because we still gotta look at these people. They're trying this thing, same situation, you know. But you like this picture that I want to bring out though. We gotta remember that. Just like how, like with Cornelius, this Hosea 4:15, right? I don't know if anybody know what tribe Cornelius was from. You know what I'm saying? But we gotta remember that you had Israelites that have departed from the faith. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna get this. This is Hosea chapter 4:16. For Israel slide back as a backsliding heifer. Now the Lord will feed them as a lamb in a large place. And we know that means that's going to the Lord's going to feed him as a lamb to the slaughter, right? But going to verse 17, it says, Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone. So you had Ephraim, when it says Ephraim is going into the northern kingdom as a whole, right? Not just the tribe of Ephraim, but the northern kingdom as a whole. And it's saying that the northern kingdom, they was joined to idols. That's why you have 1 Corinthians 7:2, or 7:1, you know what I'm saying, to 2. You know what I'm saying? That precept in Ephesians, when it's saying that you were a Gentile, you know what I'm saying, joined to these idols. That's what happened. You had northern kingdom that was joined to idols, and what happened was in the book of Hosea, during the time that you had the Israelites, they said, hey, we gotta leave y'all alone, thus says the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all going to hell off, right? But when Yahweh Shah came on the scene, he like, well, hey, they can come back, right? That's why he said, I'm going to the lost sheep, because the northern kingdom was lost. They didn't know what the hell was going on. They were serving idols. They was doing whatever the hell they want to, right? He said, I'm going to the lost sheep, right? Then you got what Paul said in Romans chapter 11. They can be joined. They can be grafted in again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you had Israelites that was really lost out here, and so you had people that was Jews and kind of seeing themselves. They're like us. You know what I'm saying? We feeling like, oh, I'm back. I know who I am according to the Bible. You know what I'm saying? We know who we are according to the Bible. We keep the commandments. But we got our brothers and sisters out there that's not doing the same thing. And we kind of like, to hell with y'all. We better than y'all. And that's what you had going on. You had the Jews, Benjamin, right? Levi, and Judah. And they was kind of like, man, we keeping the commandments already. Y'all some busters. Because it was like, kind of like they saying, by us keeping the commandments, we on a higher status than y'all.
Right.
But y'all not keeping the commandments, y'all lower stature. Y'all nobody.
Right.
Y'all nothing. That's why you had the Samaritan woman when she was saying, hey, you know that a Jew talking to a Samaritan? She kind of like, whoa, what does a Jew talk to a Samaritan? Because they understood that, hey, we Lord, because we not keeping the commandments. We got to understand that when it comes to our heritage, the most fire people, or the people that's really seen as somebody, those are the people that's keeping the commandments. Think about that.
Right.
All the people that's in the Bible, when the people that have all this fame, that's this and that, it wasn't niggas that was wilding out. It was people that was righteous. David, righteous. Solomon, righteous. He was a wise man, right? Gideon, you know what I'm saying? Yahweh Shai, right? We have all these people that they had fame off of keeping the commandments. You know what I'm saying? So it was in our culture, right? It's a good you seen as a good stature if you as a person that's obedient to the Lord. Why you think in the book of Tobit when he was going to Tobias, he said, "Hey man, go find somebody that you know feel Lord." When the angel Raphael, he said, "Well, I'm from the seed of I'm from Ananias and them." He said, "Oh, you from a good stock." That's what Tobit said. He said, "You from a good stock." So it's seen as something great or a good thing for somebody to be a keeper of the commandments, right? That's somebody that people look up to. That's why they're saying, like, you that guy. You a stand-up guy. So my point is bringing this out is people begin to gain a stature or a statue or a sense of themselves because they know that they're keeping the commandments. And so they start to look down on people that's not keeping the commandments. And that's why also it's projected or told us to be humble in this thing, to be like Christ is what? Christ was perfect. You had people keeping the commandments at the time, but Christ, he was perfect, and he was what he was doing. He was going to the low. He was going to those people that didn't know who they were. You know what I'm saying? That's just us. The same thing. We gotta be just like Christ, being humble, knowing that we could be keeping the commandments, but we still gotta stay humble and go to those people that don't know what's going on, and have compassion to them people that don't know what's going on. What Christ did, he didn't go in and start putting their foot on their neck. Y'all wicked ass niggas, y'all not keeping no commandments. He didn't do those things. You know what I'm saying? But you had Israelites in that time that was looking down upon the northern kingdom and seeing them as nothing. So thus you had to have a dream like that Peter had about that dream. Tell people, hey man, ain't no brother, ain't no you call no man, don't do no man like that. Right? It's okay to hang out with your people even though they kind of off. You know what I'm saying? To kind of try to bring them back with your light. But brothers got it.
Con. You got it, brother Nation. That's fast.
Hey, I was just gonna say, back up what Aliyah was saying, a lot of what the problem was is Israel didn't understand the prophecy, like it talked about in Hosea, and them being grafted back, them being called not a people, but in that same place, called not a people, they was gonna be called the children of the living God, which was the gift of God, like Yahweh Shah tried to tell the lady at the well in John chapter 4. So a lot of even the Jews didn't understand all the prophecies, like it said, and I think it was Isaiah 48 that Yahweh Shah was going to become a stumbling block to them, just because they was blinded and they weren't able to see what was going on in that time. But just wanted to add to your point of how you knew Cornelius was an Israelite. What's going on here is you got Cornelius having a vision. So when you look at verse 4, it say, and when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Lord? And he said unto him, thy prayers and thy alms are come up for a memorial before God. Now, who's the only person prayers that could come up for before God? When you look at Revelation chapter 8 and verse 3, it'll tell you. Revelation 8 and verse 3, it say, and another angel came and stood at the altar having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And Psalm 50 and 5 tell you that the saints are those who made a covenant with the Most High. That's the Israelites. So Cornelius would have had to have been an Israelite for his prayers to be presented to the Most High, like it's saying in verse 4. But you got it, bro.
Con. Brother making good points, man. Now, just to prove, also that he was an Israelite, or to prove that he was talking about the Israelites, can you get Acts 10 and then verse 34 through 36?
It's the book of Acts, chapter 10, verse 34. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth, I perceive that God is no respecter of persons, but in every nation he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted with him. The word which God sent unto the children of Israel, preaching peace by Yahweh Shah. He is Lord of all. That word I say, ye know, which was published throughout all Judea and began from Galilee after the baptism which John preached.
Right.
How God,
you can read 38, King.
38. How God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and with the power, who went about doing good and healing all that were oppressed of the devil, for God was with him.
So when you reread, when it said, but in every nation he that feared him and worketh righteousness is accepted with him. So why did he say in every nation? Because we just read some scriptures in the beginning of the video to prove that we were scattered. We were scattered among all different nations. So that's why he said, for in every nation he that feareth him. So out of all the people in these nations, the ones that fear, and we know that fearing the Most High God is keeping the commandments, right? Because the scriptures say faith without works is dead. So how do you truly fear the Most High God without keeping his commandments? How do you do that? You can't. Keeping the commandments that show that you fear the Most High God, that show that you don't want to get destroyed. Brother got a precept on that. I had a I forgot, it slipped my mind. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. About the fear of the Lord. Let me see if I can find Can you give me Ecclesiastes 12 and 13, King? This how you fear the Most High God. And we know that Israel is the only people that can really fear the Most High God. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13.
Ecclesiastes, I'm sorry.
Good.
It's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
Right. Hey, so fearing the Most High God is keeping the commandments. Fear God and keep his commandments. Right? Who was the commandments given to? The Israelites. So the Lord basically talking about, but in every nation, he that keeping the commandments and doing what he's supposed to do, and working the righteousness is accepted with him. So it don't matter where you from. No, it don't matter what race of people that you're around. If you keeping these commandments, are you family? You accept it. It ain't talking about all these different. Because we know what we just read earlier in 2 Ezra 3 and verse 31 to 36, the heathen didn't keep it. The heathen wasn't keeping the law, man. They wasn't caring nothing about that. So he's talking about the Israelites that were scattered in all these different nations. Them the ones that he's talking about. Because why did verse 36 say the word which God sent unto the children of Israel? Why did he say that? Why he didn't say he sent to everybody? He said he sent that to the children of Israel. So he's talking to the Israelites, talking about the Israelites, right? So now, King, more proof, because we were scattered. The proof that this is the kicker right here. This verse right here is the kicker to show that our forefathers, Paul, you know what I'm saying, Peter, they were sent to the Israelites that were scattered. Everybody knew that. They knew this prophecy. A lot of brothers knew this prophecy that it was going to come to pass. That we brothers were going to have to be sent to the Israelites, but they was called Gentiles as well. They were going to have to be sent to them to save them, to try to save them. Brothers knew this prophecy. So give me John 7 and 35, King. It's proof right here.
John 7 and 35.
Mm-hmm.
It's the book of John, chapter 7 and verse 35. Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles?
See that? They knew that. They knew that was going to have to. They knew that was coming soon. They said then said the Jews. So you had the Jews that knew they knew there was the Israelites. They was keeping the commandments. It said they said among themselves, basically talking to themselves. They saying, will he go that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles? He's talking about dispersed of our people, the ones that were scattered. They said, will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? Just called them Gentiles. The scriptures literally called our people Gentiles. They understood that it was going to have to come a time we're going to go among all the heathen and teach our people. But they was also called Gentiles because what? If you wasn't keeping the laws and commandments, you was looked at as a Gentile. You was called a Gentile. You was called a Roman if you was in Rome and you wasn't keeping the commandments. You was called a Roman. Our people looked at you as a heathen. So they said, will he go to the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? He talking about the dispersed of our people and going and to teach them. That's what he talking about. So now it'll make more sense now when you get into Paul letters. So now I'm gonna get a little bit into Paul letters, man. I'm gonna get a little bit into Paul letters. Even going back to the brother, what the brother Eleazar said in the chat to also prove that you had Cornelius. I mean, not Cornelius. Paul said he was a Roman. We know that Paul wasn't a Roman. We know Paul was an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin, but he said he was a Roman because what? He was a Roman citizen, right? He was a Roman citizen, and didn't get Galatians 2 and 3, King. Cause I think the brother not Cornelius, Titus. He called himself a Greek. Oh, he was considered a Greek in Galatians 2 and 3, but we know that he wasn't a Greek. But you got it, King.
Galatians chapter 2 and verse 3. But neither Titus, who was with me, being a Greek, was compelled to be circumcised.
Right. And why they say he was a Greek? Why would he say that? And you never know, just like Aliyah was saying, stuff it be passed down. Your great-great-granddaddy said he was a Greek. Then it's passed down to his son. He's saying he agreed. Then it's passed down to his son. He's saying he agreed. That's how that stuff was going on, man. Cause we was conquered. I mean, we was when the Greeks came in and took over everything. What we just read earlier, a lot of our people was calling themselves Greeks. They was keeping the custom of the Greeks. Even in today's time, what race of people go harder than our people when it comes down to these Greeks, these fraternities and sororities? What nation of people go harder than us? You had literally 60-year-old people still dressing up wearing they fraternity jackets. They got the tag all on their car to let you know they pledged, right? They still have anniversaries of all like no other race go hard like our people go hard when they confessing to be Greeks. They go harder than the real Greeks. They go harder than the white people as we're saying they Greeks. They go harder than them. You know what I'm saying? So that's just proof that that our people was getting called Greeks because they may have been living around Greeks. You know what I'm saying? So that's what a lot was going on. That's why it's good to get into the history because if you don't, but that's why when you get it, it's very important to know the history because if you don't know the history, you're gonna be confused. You're just gonna be saying, "Oh, Titus a Greek? He's a white man." No, you understand why was they called Greeks? Why was these things happening? Why was Paul writing letters to all these different churches when it said in the Old Testament that that they judgment already said, right? So now I'm finna get a little bit into Paul writings because the Christians love Paul writings, but we're finna get into that a little bit of it to just show you that Paul was writing his letters to the Israelites. He was writing his letters to Israelites that was in a Gentile state of mind, calling them back to the fold, calling them back to that olive tree. That's what he was doing. And I'm gonna prove that. So King first, let me see what I want first. Because Paul, he always addressed who he writing his letters to. He always addressed if he don't say it in the beginning, he said throughout the letter. He always saying brethren. Notice that Paul is always saying brethren. So now our job is to see, okay, he always write his letter to the brethren, or he always write his letters to the saints. So who must these people be? Perfect example. Let me get a precept. Let me get. Can you bring out Romans 1:7, King?
It's the book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 7. To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, grace to you and from God our Father and the Lord Yahushua.
So Paul he's literally specifying who he writing this letter to, meaning he letting you know it's not for everybody that's in Rome, right? Just because I'm writing to the Romans doesn't mean it's for everybody in Rome. It said to all that be in Rome, beloved. Who the only people that's beloved of God? You got to show us somewhere in the scriptures in the Old Testament, because we know that what they was going by, because the New Testament wasn't written yet. So you got to show us in the Old Testament where anybody else is beloved of God. Any other nation of people beloved of God. Got to show us that. So all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints. Now the brother brought the scripture out earlier. Who are the only race of people that's called to be saints? Everybody on the face of the planet not saints. Every nation every race of people on the planet are not saints. It's only one one nation of people that was considered the saints throughout the Bible. So King, can you give me that Psalms 50 and 5? We're going to show y'all who are the saints according to the Bible. So whoever the saints is according to the Bible, this is who all Paul letters to. This is who the book of Romans for, right? This is who the book of Galatians, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, all these books, man. These are who it's for. But you got it, King.
The book of Psalms, chapter 50 and verse 5. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice.
So he said, gather my saints together, those who made a covenant with me by sacrifice. So the saints are the people that made a covenant with God by sacrifice. Who are the only people that made a covenant with the Most High God by sacrifice? The Israelites. And I'm gonna get that, but first we're gonna get that. We're gonna get 2 and 1. We're gonna get 2 and 1. So first, let's show you that it always say brethren. He always say brethren somewhere in his letters. Can you give me 1 Corinthians? He says saints again in 1 Corinthians 1 and 2. But can you give me 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 10, just to show you that he say brethren?
It's the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 10. Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of Yahushua, that ye all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you, but that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment.
Kind. So who is Paul brethren? So can you give me Galatians 1 and 2 real quick? Here go another example in another letter to show you that he say brethren again. We can't skip over that. We can't skip over it saying saints, and we can't skip over it saying brethren. Who are his brethren and who are the saints? We already said the saints are the people that made a covenant with God by sacrifice, which the Israelites are the only people that made a covenant with the Most High God by sacrifice. But you got it, King.
It's the book of Galatians, chapter 1 and verse 2. And all the brethren which are with me unto the churches of Galatia.
So all the so he writing he writing to all the churches in Galatia, right? But he pointed out the specific people he writing to. He said all of the brethren. Now, who are Paul brethren according to the scriptures? So can you give me that Romans 9 and 3 through 4?
For I could wish that myself were accursed from Yahweh Shah, for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, and the glory, and the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of Yahweh, and the promises.
Right. So his brethren are the Israelites. Who his brethren are the Israelites. I mean, Paul is the Israelite. He's an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. So his brethren will be other Israelites according to the flesh. So he writing these letters to, because so you can't have nobody say he writing to spiritual Israel. They don't even, that's not even in the Bible. He said his brethren are the Israelite, or his brethren are Israelites according to the flesh. So he writing to his brethren according to the flesh, which are the Israelites. So when you read these letters, he's writing to Israelites that's scattered, that's in a Gentile state of mind. He's writing to them to let them know, hey, come back to the fold, come back to the covenants, right? So matter of fact, can you give me Romans 9 and 10, which also prove that he's writing to the Israelites?
This is the book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 10. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac.
So he said, he telling the Romans that he writing to, he said, and not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac. So we know he ain't talking about Esau. We know this because we know the only ones that came through whether the lineage of Abraham, Isaac was Esau and Jacob, and we know that he's not talking about Esau. He said, and not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac. So that cuts out all these different. It leaves you the two, Esau and Jacob, because he said our father Isaac, and we know them the only two that came down through Isaac. But now we're gonna prove to you that he's talking about Israel. So now, and now this is a nail in the coffin right here. 1 Corinthians 10 and 1, which prove this gonna show you that he's not talking about Esau either. Because Esau, it's like Esau profane, man.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 10 and verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant how that our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea.
Right. So this is showing you who he write. This is in 1 Corinthians. Paul is writing a letter in 1 Corinthians. He said, moreover, brethren, we already know that his brethren are Israelites, and it's also proof again to show you that his brethren are the Israelites. He said, moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant how that all our fathers. So he said all our fathers. So he got to be talking about the same. He got to be talking about the people that got the same fathers as him. Were under the cloud and all passed through the sea. So what people was under the clouds and passed through the sea? It's a precept on it. Let me get it. Hold up. Let's get that. Let's see what people was under the clouds. Was it
Exodus 14:22?
Yeah, I think that's what I want, King. You can bring it out.
It says Exodus 14:22, and the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on the right hand and on their left.
Right. So he's speaking. Paul is getting into history. Paul is getting into what happened, when our forefathers were under the cloud in Exodus. So he's talking about the Israelites. He said all our fathers that were under the cloud and all passed through the sea. He's writing to the Israelites. No other nation was under the cloud and passed through the sea with us. Right? He's talking about Israel. talking about our people. So now, King, can you give me 1 Corinthians 12:2? In the Exodus.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 12 and verse 2. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led.
So in the same book, in the 1 Corinthians, he said, ye know that ye were Gentiles. Now we know that the heathen Gentiles, they're going to always be Gentiles. So why did he say, you know that ye were Gentiles? Because they're not Gentiles anymore. There was Gentiles because they was keeping the customs of the Gentiles, but now they're not Gentiles anymore because they came back to the knowledge and the understanding of the truth. He said, you know that ye were Gentiles carried away into the dumb idols. Now we know the other nations, they always been into dumb idols. They know that. We know that. But we was carried away into these dumb idols. And that go into well, I'm gonna let Aliyah get it. I'm gonna let Aliyah bring his point out before I get into it.
Like, you know, I was just want to bring out a point that, you know, when you think about it, like, just like how you said that, bro, before we came out of this truth with Gentiles, we was in the same predicament as these same people. When it says, know that you were carried away to these dumb idols. We was carried away with dumb idols. We was in Christianity. You had some brothers that was in Islam. You had some brothers that didn't believe. Before I came into this truth, I didn't even believe. Before I came into the truth, bro, I said to hell with the Bible, bro. That's what was my word before I came into the truth, bro. We were Gentiles before we came into the truth. We was in the same predicament as our people, as the people before. Gentiles. Thinking that we black. Thinking that we nothing but a nigga. Thinking we at the bottom of society. Gentiles. You know what I'm saying? But you got
Con, that's facts. Brothers, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Okay. Con. So, Aliyah, you still got your hand up, King?
It's like, you know, I gotta put down.
Con. So we mighty point, we was all Gentiles at one time before we came into this truth. And we was all living like a Gentile, right? So that's the same thing Paul was doing. He was writing to people that's living like us, that was living like us at one time, and letting them know, hey, stop playing, y'all the Israelites, come back. And he said, you know that ye were Gentiles carried away into these dumb idols. So why did the Lord say ye were Gentiles? Can you give me Hosea 4:17, King?
It's the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 17. Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone.
Right. So the Bible said Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone. So the Lord said, because a lot of our people, especially Northern Kingdom, got into idolatry, right? They was deep into idolatry. So the Lord said, hey, man, leave them alone. So if the Lord say leave them alone, that means, hey, go ahead and do what you do. It's the same thing with what Yahweh said in Matthew 18 and 15 through 17. And you're going to be looked at as a heathen now. You're going to be looked at as a heathen. So that's why the Lord said, now you were Gentiles. You was looked at as a heathen. But now, hey, well, I'm going to show you. Can you give me Malachi 2 and 11 through 12 to also prove that? Malachi 2 and 11 through 12. Let me see if brother got it.
It's the book of Malachi, chapter 2 and verse 11. Judah have dealt treacherously, and an abomination is committed in Israel and in Jerusalem. For Judah have profaned the holiness of the Lord, which he loved, and have married the daughter of a strange god.
Was that 12? Did you go to 12, King?
Oh, verse 12.
Huh.
The Lord will cut off the man that does this, the master and the scholar, out of the tabernacle of Jacob, and him that offereth an offering unto the Lord of hosts.
Con, so that just show you prove out that, hey, the Lord can cut you off, man. That's the same thing he did to, a lot of our people. He kind of let them alone. Do what y'all do, then y'all don't want to listen. Do what y'all do. Y'all gonna be looked at as heathen, right? So that, he said. So that's why Paul was writing these letters to our people that was, in a Gentile state of mind. So this another some more proof to prove that, especially because Christians love running the Romans, but they don't even understand. Even we just read in Romans in 1 and 7 that he writing to the saints, but it's even more proof in Romans that he's still he's still sending his letter to the Israelites that are scattered. But you got it, Allah. You can bring your point out.
I had a question. That scripture that he just read in Malachi. That was Malachi, right?
Con.
Did that say that our people that can you just read that one more time? I think it was the last one. Can you read that Bible again? Malachi chapter 2 verse 11. Judah have dealt treacherously, and an abomination is committed in Israel and in Jerusalem. For Judah have profaned the holiness of the Lord which he loved, and have married the daughter of a strange god. The Lord will cut off the man that does this, the master and the scholar, out of the tabernacle of Jacob, and him that offered an offering unto the Lord of hosts. So it said that he married a strange god. That's going into him going into idolatry, and like the scriptures say, we married to the Most High Yahweh. What now? Like the scriptures say, we married to Yahweh because we keep His laws. He made a covenant. No, I'm saying, what was that at? That's verse 11. Malachi, what now? 2 and 11 and 12. 2 and 11. Okay. The reason why I was trying to get you to say all that was for me to bring out this point that I'm about to bring out now. See how you just said that, by us being, married, that's going to us idolatry, right? Right? And just like how it refers to us being married to the Lord, right? So I'm going to get this precept. This is Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 5. For thy maker is thy husband. The Lord is locking, brother already brought this out. But it says, for thy maker is thy husband, the Lord of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth shall he be called. For the Lord hath called thee as a woman forsaken, and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth. When thou wast refused, said thy God. I'll keep reading. It was so basically in that precept that is talking about right there, that basically Israel played a harlot, just like how I was just saying that but like it said in Malachi that we married this strange woman. It's saying the same thing in the book of Isaiah chapter 54. You know what I'm saying? We did the opposite that we were supposed to do. We did the opposite of what we're supposed to do as a wife to the Lord, because we married him, but we didn't do the things that we're supposed to do. It says, for the Lord have called thee as a woman forsaken, right, and grieved in spirit, right? A woman that's forsaken. What's a woman that's forsaken? And that's the one that's not dealing with no more. Why? Lord was dealing with us, right? Because we was going into idolatry, doing all kind of manner of wickedness. That's why we had to be reconciled back to the Lord, because of our wickedness. You know what I'm saying? precept out, as in to correlate with what the precept that brother brought out, as in how he was married to a strange woman, and also vice versa, Israel not being that woman that it should have been for her husband. Because we was talking about this the other day, you know what I'm saying? How like a woman not being pleasant or as pleasing as she should be to her husband, and you had men that were basically able to divorce their women. Well, how much so when your woman is playing a harlot? Because when what the Lord said in the book of Matthew, right? It said that if it said that hey, you just keep going, you divorce woman on the account of adultery, right? Or dealing with another man. And that's what we did spiritually. We was dealing with other doctrine, dealing with idolatry. And what Lord did, He divorced us. He forsook us. Because we was playing a harlot. We weren't being that wife that should have been cleaving to her husband. Because that's what a wife does. A wife cleaves to her husband. Right? What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to cleave us to the Lord. I just want to get the last precept and then we'll be better. Right? But this is a precept I want to all praise. Go straight to it. This Sirach 25 and 12. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. So as a wife, we were supposed to cleave to the Lord. We weren't supposed to cleave to idolatry. We weren't supposed to cleave to these so-called other gods. We weren't supposed to cleave to Christianity. We weren't supposed to cleave to Islam. We weren't supposed to cleave to being to money, to fame, to all this other bull crap. But that's what we have done. So therefore, we have played the heart. But that's it, though.
Con. You definitely played the harlot, man. That's what the Lord was like, man. Lord got tired of that, man. He got tired of it. But can you get Romans chapter 9 and verse 25 through 26, which also proves that Paul is writing his letter to Israelites only.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 25. As he said also in OC, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and are beloved, which was not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there ye shall be called the children of the living God.
Right, and you have Christians look at that and be like, see, he talking about other nations. Because he said, I will call them my people, which is not my people. And you see that the heathen was never his people. But now he's saying he's going to call them their people. People read this and say that it's talking about the heathen. But when you get into it, it said, as he said also in OC is a Hosea. So what did he say this in Hosea? Because he quoting something from the Old Testament. What did he say this in Hosea? Well, we go to Hosea 1 and 10. He's quoting Hosea 1 and 10. But who was he talking about in Hosea 1 and 10? What people he's talking about? We're going to see.
It's the book of Hosea, chapter 1 and verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God.
So he's talking about the Israelites. He quoted from Hosea 1 and 10. Hosea was talking about the Israelites. Paul is talking about the Israelites as well, because we was called not his people, because we was getting into idolatry and started keeping the custom of the heathen. But now he said y'all was once called not my people. So now I'm finna say, hey, y'all sons of the living God. Come back and keep these commandments, man. And so that's really what he's talking about in Romans 9 and 25 and 26. He's still talking to Israel. So now, can you give me Ephesians 2 and 11?
It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 2 and verse 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands.
So that's going back to excuse me, the same thing he first said in 1 Corinthians 12:2. You know that ye were Gentiles. Same thing he said in Ephesians 2:11. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past, Gentiles in the flesh. Why? Because they was doing the things of the Gentiles. They were doing the customs of the Gentiles that they wasn't supposed to do. So the Lord said, remember in time past, you were Gentiles in the flesh. So that's also proof right there. That's also proof right there that it's talking about Israel. So Paul letters, he's always letting you know who he talking to. He always letting you know. He always letting you know, man. He's not gonna write a letter and you trying to figure out, okay, who is he talking to? Is he talking to everybody, or is he talking to, a certain group of people? He's letting you know. All throughout his letter, he's letting you know that he's talking about Israel. And I want to get this last thing, Romans 11, and because Christians always love going to the olive tree. Romans 11 and Romans 11 and start at Can you start at Romans 11 and 16 through you can stop at 27, King. Romans chapter 16 and verse 27. Christians love pulling this, saying that, it's talking about, the Gentiles, the heathen now. They part of that tree. You got it.
Romans chapter 11 and verse 16. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and the fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches. But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if God spare not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of Yahweh on them which fail, severity, but toward thee, goodness, if thou continue in his goodness. Otherwise, thou also shalt be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for Yahweh is able to graft them in again. Or if thou wert cut out of the olive tree which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob.
So this Christians go to this and say, now it said, matter of fact, I'm gonna get this to prove. When the brother read in Romans 11 and 23, it said, as they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for God is able to graft them in again. So my question would be, if brothers and sisters think this talking about the actual Gentiles, when was they ever grafted? When was they ever part of the tree? When was they ever grafted in? Because it said they shall be grafted in again. In order to be grafted in again, you had to once be in there. You had to be once in there. The heathen was never. You have to show me that. Like, brothers be trying to save the heathen so hard. You have to show us when it was once part of us. And even going back to verse 26, and so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion their deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sins. Because we know, when was the heathen ever part of the covenant? When did they ever receive the covenants? When they ever received the laws? They was never part. So how can they be grafted into something they was never part of? And even going back to Romans 11 and 11, I say, then have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is coming to the Gentiles for to provoke them to jealousy. You have people be like, see, salvation come to the other nations now to provoke us to jealousy. But you gotta think about it. Why would we be jealous if this was so called? I'm speaking as a Christian. If a Christian say they can be, he's talking about the Gentiles, the actual Gentiles. Why would we be jealous of them? And we got everything. We received the law, we received the covenants, we received the commandments. Why would that make us jealous if they came and received salvation? Why would that make us jealous? It'll make us mad, but we wouldn't be jealous of that because we know that we better than them. This is talking about the same thing Aliyah said about the brothers in the military. You know, just say the whole time you've been keeping the laws and commandments, and you been looking at our brothers that's in the military, like, man, that wicked, man. You know what I'm saying? He ain't one of us, man. You know what I'm saying? He off, and then all of a sudden he get grafted back in. Now he keeping the commandments. That's gonna make you jealous. Especially when you see him growing and you just talked about him, you just looked at him like he nothing. Now he grafted back in. The same brother that was cut off. Now he grafted back in. Now you looking at him. Now you seeing him growing. You scared of your spot now. You scared this brother gonna take what you got, man. Take the so-called spotlight. You scared this brother gonna be better than you. So that's what it's talking about. Our people to provoke us to jealousy. That's what it's talking about. But you got it, King.
I was just gonna say, man, and to the point you made earlier, you have to know that when at the time Paul is writing these letters, they didn't have the New Testament. So everything that Paul is talking about is coming from somewhere. So when he's talking about olive tree and branches being broken off, you have to go to Jeremiah 11 and 16 to know what he means. And it says there, verse 16, it says, the Lord called thy name a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit, which the noise of a great tumult he hath kindled a fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken. For the Lord of hosts that planted thee hath pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah, which they have done against themselves to provoke me to anger and offering incense to Baal. So this is where like Paul didn't just pull that whole thing out of thin air. He got that from the book of Jeremiah. I think it even talks about it in Ezekiel too, where he grabbed two slaves from Israel and Judah. So that whole parable is about Israel and Judah, the nation of Israel. Them the branches, them the ones. That's what he's talking about. What you got?
Khan. That's a good point. I'm finna get that one in Ezekiel. Can you give me Ezekiel, King, chapter 37 and verse 15 through 23? Because it does talk about it in Ezekiel. Excuse me.
You said 37 and 23?
Ezekiel chapter 37 and verse, you can start at 15 through 23.
Verse 15. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write on it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, what wilt thou show us? What thou meanest by these? Say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. And say unto them, thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and I will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountain of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, and they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and I will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God.
Right. So when you go back and read Romans 11, when it was talking about the tree, the olive tree, this going back to Ezekiel and Jeremiah, the same thing they said, what they was talking about Ephraim and Judah, northern and southern kingdom. And like the brother said, the New Testament wasn't written then. So what they was going by? The Old Testament. That's why it's important to read the Old Testament to understand, because they was getting into the Old Testament, right? They was teaching from the Old Testament. So that's why it's very important to get into the Old Testament. Right, and I have one more, King. Can you give me Romans 10:1? To also prove who, did I bring it out yet? Romans 10:1, to prove who Paul was talking to.
Romans chapter 10 and verse 1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to Yahweh for Israel is that they might be saved.
So if Paul writing his letter to everybody in Rome, why did he say, brethren, my heart desire and prayer to God for Israel? Like, why he saying that? If he's talking to everybody, every race of people in Rome, why he specify Israel? Why he do that? Why he bringing up Israel if he talking about everybody? That's something to think about, man. That is something to think about. But Aliyah, you got it.
Just to go into that, that's a mighty question that's just asked. And one of my things is like, and it goes back to what y'all were just saying before, like, New Testament wasn't out then, so it was learned from the Old Testament. So who's to say that Paul, he done read Zechariah, right? He done read Zechariah chapter 13, verse 8.
Right.
He done read this thing, right? You know what I'm saying? Let me go so real quick. So I can. He done read Zechariah 13, verse 8, and it reads, it says, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, says the Lord, two parts of the hand shall be cut off and die, and a third shall be left therein. Right, so Paul could have read exactly. Not Paul could have read. I'm pretty sure he done read it. So he's like, in his mind, he already know. Boom. Think about it. There's no New Testament that's written already. So you got to really put yourself in what's going on here. So you got the Old Testament at this time. You got already saying that two-thirds Israel going to be destroyed. You already got Hosea that's saying that Ephraim is joined to idols, let them alone. So he's like, dang. He having compassion for his other brothers Israel. He does not have a compassion for, well, I just know about the Jews, Benjamin, I just know about Southern Kingdom, Benjamin, Levi, and Judah, and that's all I need. He's having that compassion. Like, dang. Bro, I hear about, Lord already saying that 2/3 is going to be destroyed. And he already said, even when doing the idols in alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see it. It's all on the tape right now. Brother, his feelings right now. He's like, man, I wish all Israel be saved, bro. I wish all my people be saved. Because he know a lot of people going to perish. That's just like us right now. We knowing we out there going out, we laboring, and we looking at the same thing. We like, damn, I wish all Israel be saved. We seen our people, we have compassion like, dang, them our people still got in the day. Those people that's on the highways and byways, don't they be wicked? Don't they be saying, I don't want to hear them without talking about, that's still Israel. That's still our people. And you had a lot of our forefathers that had a lot of compassion for our people. Jeremiah, he lamented for Israel. You know what I'm saying? David, he cried out for his enemies. When Saul died, he cried out. When Abner died, a man that was trying to that said that he didn't really respect him, right? But then he cried out, he fasted for this man's death. He was mad that Abner got slayed. So you gotta have forefathers that really have compassion for the children of Israel, bro. So now he knowing these things, he's seeing how that's just like us right now. We seeing how Israel acted, and we know in the scriptures, like, damn. I know Lord really gonna slay 2/3 of my people. I know 66% of all my people are gonna die, regardless of what I think, regardless of how much we go out labor. That's gonna happen. That kind of thing, man. A brother will say that. Hey man, I pray all this get saved. Even though they know not, even they don't know what it is, they still put that prayer like, man, I wish all this get saved. Because you love your people. Because of the compassion. Because you being sorrowful. But that's what I got though. That's just something I just put on. But that's it.
Con. That's a mighty point. All right, Con, that's a mighty point, man. Now, I had one more. I almost forgot about this precept, man. Acts chapter 21 and verse 19 through 21. Is it a definition? Oh, dang, it's a lot. Hey, brothers, bear with me. I just thought about something else. Bear with me. But can you give me that Acts 21 and 19 to 21, King? Just thought about something else.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 21 and verse 19. And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things Yahweh had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified Yahweh and said unto him, Thou seest, brother, how many thousands of the Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law. And they are informed of thee, that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither to walk after the customs.
Right. So you see what I'm saying? That's the same thing. See, they understood because that's the same thing they said in John 34. I mean, John chapter 7 and verse 35, when he said, will the Jews go among the dispersed? I mean, it said, will he go into the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? It's the same thing that's happening right here in Acts 21 and 19. And he said, well, jumping down to 21, and they are informed of thee. So he happy. He like, dang, okay, yeah, come. They are informed of thee that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles, right? To forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither to walk after the customs. That's the same thing that was going on, man. Teaching the Jews that are among the Gentiles. That's the same thing we're doing now. Nothing new under the sun. We are teaching our people that are among the Gentiles. Might have so-called white people come up and listen. Might have so-called Chinese people coming up and listen. Japanese people coming up and listen. But we only there for our people. But we're among them, though. That's the same as that thing that was going on. And I want to get this last account I had just thought about. Brothers know that scripture when they like to say in Revelation, was it Revelation when it said every tongue in every tongue, kindred. Matter of fact, yeah, Revelation 7. Can you get Revelation 7 and verse 9 is what they like to go to, because they see that when it says that the ones that were sealed are the tribes of Israel, then it goes into a great nation, a great multitude, and they think that's talking about, all these different nations. But you can read that, King, Revelation 7:9 through 10.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 7 and verse 9. And this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hand, and cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our God, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb.
Right. So when they see that great multitude which no man can number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, they say they're talking about everybody. But you got to get into this thing. King, can you get Hosea 1 and 10? You got to think about it, man. We are that great multitude, man. Israel is that great multitude.
This is the book of Hosea, chapter 1 and verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God.
Right. So Israel, we like the sand of the sea. We can't be measured or numbered. So that's a great multitude. When you can't be measured or numbered, that's a big, great multitude. In another verse, 2 Ezra 3 and 16, because 2 Ezra 3 and 16, it used that same word, great multitude. 7, 2 Ezra 7.
This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 3 and verse 16. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau. And so Jacob became a great multitude.
He became a what?
A great multitude.
So Jacob, 12 tribes of Israel, became a great multitude. And that's the same as that thing that it said in Revelation 7 and 9. I saw a great multitude. So when you read Revelation 7 and 3 through 8, that's not all of us, man. That's not all of us that's going to make it. It just said a great multitude. So it's more of us, man. And brothers got their account in 2 Ezra when Ezra was seeing us with I think we had, it said Ezra was seeing 2 and 42.
2 and 42.
Come on, you can bring that out, King. Salakia.
2 Ezra chapter 2 and verse 20 to 42. I Ezra saw upon the Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with song.
And you can read on down to 48, King.
And in the midst of them there was a young man of a higher stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crown, and I was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of Yahweh. Now are they crowned and receive palms. Then I said unto the angel, What young person is that crowneth them, and giveth them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, It is the Son of God, of whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. Then the angel said unto me, Go thy way, and tell my people what manner of things and how great wonders the Lord God thou hast seen.
Con. See that? Con. So, it said that same thing about he's seeing that people he's seeing all those people, he couldn't even number them. And all that goes back to Revelation 7 and 9. Still talking about Israel. It's not talking about the heathen just because it says every nation, kindred, people, and tongue. And that, if I am mistaken, I forgot what kindred mean in the BLB. But I think Dang, what it was. I can't remember. But kindred, it was going into Israel. I can't remember what it said, but it was going into, of Israel, of people and tongues, because we know that we scattered among all these people. We scattered. So that was really what he was talking about, man. You gotta think about it. Going back to 10, and cried with a loud voice, saying, "Salvation to our God." So that's what they're gonna be saying. Salvation to our God. But we know salvation is only for Israel. That's Luke chapter 1 and verse 68 through 74. And we know that he only the God of the Israelites, which is Joel 2 and 27. So that's talking about Israel. We're gonna be the ones that's gonna be receiving that white robe. Right? We the only ones that gonna be receiving it. No other nation. You found it. What did it say? You found it?
Yep, it says a tribe. In the New Testament, all the persons descended from one of the 12 tribes, 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob, a nation, people.
See that? So a kindred just means a tribe. It says in the NT, all the persons descended from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob, a nation of people. See what I'm saying? So they already know that it's talking about us. This is talking about Israel, man. So with that, that's gonna be end of my lesson. If brother had to say something else, no. My brother want to say something. Oh, my bad. Brother had their hands up. Well, I got it. My bad. Whoever had their hands up.
You had on up first. Yeah, I just wanted to not trying to pull Revelation 5 and 9 because it's saying the same thing. Revelation 7 and 9 and what you just pulled about the people and nation. Revelation 5 9. And they sung a new song, saying, "Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by the blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation." And that was all. Revelation 5 and 9 saying the same thing as 7 and 9. That was all.
Con. We know that his Bible is written for us, so it's talking to us. But you got it, King.
I just wanted to say, my lesson, and definitely a good point that you just brought out with that part about, just going to the etymology of the word kindred, because a lot of people don't understand what that really means. You know what I'm saying? And that's a good point. When you go into that, you understand it's talking about, he says perfectly in New Testament that it's talking about the patriarchs of Israel.
Right.
Israel, bro. It's talking about Israel, not talking about nobody else, bro. And a lot of Christians really get that thing confused. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't really understand the Bible. They don't understand getting into the etymology of words, understanding where it really came from, because it was translated from Greek and Latin and Hebrew, right? So that's a good thing to get into that. And that just reminded me of when we did this last weekend at camp. You know what I'm saying? We were talking to his brother. You know what I'm saying? And we was going into something just as that, because he thought that the Lord really came for everybody when he had to go into that thing for the brother, because he didn't know, But I want to bring out a couple of precepts just to go into that. I don't really probably about James 1 and 1 I already probably did though. But I'm gonna bring it out real quick. James, a servant of Yahweh and of the Lord Yahweh Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, region. So we understand that, amen, Israelites, they are scattered abroad. And when you go into the history, when you actually go into the book of Acts, you go into the book of Romans, you go into the book of Ephesians, Thessalonians, Galatians, Corinthians, and you actually go into the history and where these places were, when you actually go to the map, right? That's why it's good to get that book, which I'm going to look and try to get. It's the Rose book, where it's got the maps and things. We actually looking on these maps. These places are not Israel. Our forefathers, Paul and them, the apostles, they weren't going to different places in Jerusalem. They weren't going to different places in Bethel, Ephraim. They weren't doing that. They was going all across places. They was going to Asia. They was going to Greece, Rome. They was traveling the world, right? Because you had Israelites scattered abroad. right? So we have to understand that they really had to get moved. You know what I'm saying? They're just like us right here. You know what I'm saying? If our forefathers were alive right now, they'll be going to California. They'll be going to New York. They'll be going to Central America. They'll be going to South America. Right? They'll travel over to parts of Africa. They'll be all over the world. That's how they was moving it. They wasn't confined to just we. I'm just going to talk to the Israelites in Jerusalem right now. No, they went all over the world, right? But I'm gonna get this too. This Matthew chapter 24, and I'm gonna start at verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So it's saying that when the Yahweh shall come in his great glory, right? You got all those thousands and thousands but angels. They're gonna go to all the to the four corners of the earth, man, and they're gonna gather Israelites from abroad, man. You're gonna have the different. You're gonna have the elect just not confined to just brothers out there laboring in the United States, brothers laboring in Europe, parts of Africa. It's Israelites that scatter abroad, and the angels are gonna gather them from all the four corners of the earth, man. So our people have to understand. When it comes to something like that, the four corners of the earth, man, you gotta understand that the Israelites are scattered abroad. You gotta understand that. When you mention the name Gentiles, understand what's going on. You have a people that has been truly discontinued from their heritage. You know what I'm saying? They're literally split up. You got Israelites that don't even know about other Israelites. You know what I'm saying? You got so-called black people that don't even know they're Israelite. But just as in the same breath, they don't even know that the so-called black people, they don't even know who each other are. At one point in time, we knew that we was family. We knew that we came from East together. We knew these things. But now you have people that truly don't know who they are. They don't know who their own brothers is. They don't even know who their true neighbors are. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, it's the same thing just as our forefathers was dealing with in the time of Rome, the time of Corinth, the time of Thessalonica. Same thing. They don't know what's going on. They don't know who they are. You know, but I yield with that.
Con. All praise to the Most High. That's facts, man. Lord willing, this video was edifying. And this class was edifying, man, too. You know, just put that out there that a lot of our people are still Gentiles. So if Paul was on the scene right now, if Paul was right now, he would have been out here doing the same thing we doing. Preaching to our people, writing letters to our people. We've been doing the same exact thing now. So if brother has something else they want to say before we close out, any points, anything they want to say, before we close it out.
No, but that was an edifying lesson though, man. He broke it down with precision. I think at this point, it's undeniable, man. If they break down the scriptures the right way, they'll see that Paul was addressing the Israelites that were scattered. That was all, man. Beautiful lesson, huh?
Man, all praises, kings, man. All praise to the Most High, man. We got that special, huh?
I had to preach that real quick.
Bring it out, King.
This is Sirach chapter 39 and verse 11. Sirach chapter 29 and verse 11. Lay up thy treasure according to the commandments of the Most High, and it shall bring thee more profit than gold. So brothers, just continue to live the laws and commandments in your hearts and mind, and meditate on the things, man. It's going to bring you more profit than gold. And just as in Zephaniah, how these people that are rich now in physical wealth, right? They're not going to let us bring that to the Most High. But by us meditating on the scriptures and we laying these things up but our heart and our mind, right, ain't that will profit us more than gold. That's
it. Bitcoin. So yeah, with that, when you read Paul's letters, when it says something about the brethren, when he always addressed the brethren, just know he talking about Israelites, Romans 9:3-4, or when he mentioned the saints in his letters, know he directing that to Israel too. Psalms 50:5, we're the only ones that made a covenant with the Most High God by sacrifice. So hey brother, got anything up before I close that thing out? Somebody got something else? But it's good. All right, so I'm done with the lesson, man. Lord, they were edifying, man. Brothers keep enduring. Brothers keep fighting the good fight. Brothers just continue, to trust in the Most High. Hey, the kingdom of heaven at hand, man. Shalom. Shalom. Brother, hey, brother in space right now.
Hey, what you done out on the chariot? Hey, shalom, y'all.
Hey, shalom.